All right. Hi, I'm Dan Wright. It's ModWright Instruments. And I am here with Fred Moore. He's my lead technician. What we have here is a KWA 150 reference power amplifier. This amp's been in production for a long time. It's won awards worldwide. It's an outstanding amplifier. It is a bipolar junction design, BJT design. It is 150 watts per channel. It can be bridged in mono up to 600 watts into 4 ohms. The process here, we are at basically stage 2 or maybe stage 3. PCBs are assembled by Morgan first. I then visually QC them, make sure everything looks good. Fred then assembles and builds the amplifier. This involves many steps: building the wire kits by hand, mounting PCBs to heat sinks, mounting transformers. It's a very involved and very hands-on process. Again, everything is done by hand in America in our shop. So at this point, the amp is assembled and it's functional. We have the boards out of the chassis like this so that I can observe, test, and measure everything. Once it's all fully assembled, it's not as easy to do so. I have tested it and proven that it powers up, the voltages are right, the bias is approximately right, and now the next step is for Fred to mount the faceplate, put the control board into place, and he will leave the input stages out because I need those open for the next stage of QC, where I actually do document all the operation of the unit.
Okay. So first we're going to pull the transformer because that's the only way you can get the faceplate in. So we got to pull this out, pull the cords off, flip this up, pull the transformer out, get my magnet.
Fred's been with ModWright for about 15 years. Fred is my lead tech, and I rely on Fred for a lot.
This is only about the 140th that I've done. So.
If you have a ModWright amplifier, chances are Fred has his hands on it, if not has built it.
Yeah. I go through and do the final button up on every unit that goes out after Dan does his, and then Dan does his final listen.
Yep. I do all final QC, listen, measure.
Yeah.
Fred does all final assembly, and we work together to make sure everything meets our standards and is right.
Flip it up out of the way as far as we can, because this will not go in there without that. And a little trick. Put a little rubber band around here.
Amboy is a small town. I know Fred Moore because Fred is related to Chris Trombley, who is the contractor that did work for us. And Chris was friends with the owner of the daycare who took care of our children. And Kristen's children were at the daycare. And Morgan is a friend of my son, who when we moved here was in the daycare. So when you live in a small town like Amboy, it really depends on who you know. Good people in this town, long relationships, working relationships, and friendships that all seem to be interconnected.
Get this. There.
Kristen's been with us about as long as Fred, about 15 years. Morgan, you've been with us 3 years? 4, goodness sakes.
Okay.
My bad, boss. 4 years.
That one is not started yet.
Oh, sure. What we're seeing here, the ModWright capacitors are used in all of our reference products. These are not cheap capacitors. They are made to our specification. They have our logo on them. They're oil-impregnated polypropylene. In this case, they're used in all bypass and signal coupling applications, where we simply weren't satisfied with anything we could buy otherwise.
Okay, next step is installing the faceplate.
You also find blue anodized details are part of the process.
Okay, put the logo in.
I just like the color blue. That logo acrylic is also the power button.
Yeah.
You'll see the large spring and the micro switch inside. It was kind of a tricky way we got away with having a power switch in the faceplate without having to clutter up the field of the plate. I like our designs to be as elegant and clean and symmetrical as possible. I did not want to have a power button in the middle of the faceplate, so we decided this was a cool way to do it. In addition to the ModWright capacitors, we also use in a lot of our products these silver cans are Lundahl transformers from Sweden. These are also an expensive component, but they make a big difference in all of our products. We've worked with Lundahl for years. They are my go-to for any kind of signal or line level transformer for our products. Our metalwork is mostly all done in Ontario by Radisson Limited. We've had a long-standing working relationship with Radisson Limited, and they are simply, in my opinion, the best at doing very fine finish metalwork. Our standards are very high, and without them, I would not be satisfied.
There's one screw right in the middle down at the very bottom. That's why we have to pull the transformer.
It's said that the engineer designed this a bit differently. It would be easier to build. So I hear this a lot. I'll have to talk to that guy. He's pretty stubborn sometimes.
All right. That part.
So now that logo, which will be backlit when the amp is powered on, blue. It's always a blue backlit logo because our company colors are silver and blue. To power the unit on, you simply push the logo, and up it comes.
Make sure it's working correctly.
This amplifier weighs about 85 pounds. It is a monster. One noteworthy thing about this design is it is internally dual mono. You'll see the two power transformers. You also see the two completely separate input stages, output stages. This is essentially two amplifiers in one enclosure. As such, it can be bridged in mono. So while this is a stereo amplifier at 150 watts into 8 and 250 watts into 4, in bridged mono, it will produce up to 450 watts into 8 and 600 watts into 4 ohms.
Get these tightened just right so the button works correctly.
So the faceplate is on at this point. What will be left off until the very final portion of the build are the side panels and the top plate. I need to access the input stages to adjust the bias and the output stages. And the final step in the QC and testing process, once all the QC details are finalized and tested, is the input stages are then put back in place, the metalwork's put on the amplifier, and final bias is done then because the temperature changes with the top and sides on. To build a KWA 150, I think we worked the man hours out at close to 40 hours. It's a very involved product to build. Between the PCBs, the wire kits, the QC, the assembly, the testing, the final assembly, the final testing, I don't think people realize how labor intensive and why these things cost what they do. It's a very labor intensive process to produce fine audio. The materials themselves cost what they do, the metalwork, the components. American labor is also a big portion of this. We don't outsource our labor. Everything is done here in the United States. And when you call ModWright's number, you will speak with Kristen or myself. I pride myself and I pride our company on the fact that we are accessible and that we provide top quality products and service.
All right. A little tricky sometimes fishing it through there, but
I promise, Fred, the next amplifier we design after this will be done in a more efficient way.
yeah.
So the build process will be more streamlined.
I won't know what to do with myself.
Right? We've been building this amp for what, Fred? About 12, 13 years maybe?
Oh,
maybe more.
All 15 years.
Yeah. This was
the first unit that I.
Yeah.
The first thing I did when I got here was build a wire kit for a
That's
150.
Right. The very first amp we did was the 150. Now the Signature Edition came later, and there have been continual upgrades and iterations from the very first KWA 150 power amp, but the heart of the design has remained the same. We have improved it as able over time, but this product has stayed in our stable for a very long time.
When I first got here, we were building the 150s, and we just started building the 100.
Yeah, the 150 was the first amp. It followed with the KWA 100 SE, the KWI 200 integrated. After that came, I'm trying to think here, I believe the KWH 225.
No, the 100, the LS 100 was.
I'm thinking of amplifiers, but you're correct.
Yeah.
He's correct. The first amplifier was the KWA 150. It was tended to be paired with the LS 36.5 DM. The KWA 100 SE was the next amplifier. It's 100 watt, a bit smaller, at a different price point. It was paired with the LS 100 tube preamp.
Yeah.
The next was the integrated, the KWI 200, the 200 watt MOSFET integrated. And since then, we have designed the KWH225i, which is a hybrid integrated, kind of a hybrid between the KWI 200 and the 150 SE. Hybrid in that, yes, it has tubes in the input stage. The KWI 200 did not. Additionally, a hybrid in that it uses the power stage from the 150 and the integrated circuit of the KWI 200.
And then we drop the transformer back in somewhere. There we go. Little trick. Screw on the end of the mag to get it started.
I think a lot of people, when they see our products, assume they're made in a factory somewhere. You know, boards are assembled by machine. That's just not the case.
Me and Morgan touch every unit that goes through here.
It's true. Well, thank you for experiencing with us the production of a KWA 150 SE. It's nice to be able to explain to you how it all comes about and give you a better idea of the process, the quality, and why our products are made the way they do and why they sound the way they do. Thank you very much. I'm Dan Wright, ModWright Instruments. Hope to see you soon.